This is the Meade Hill Lot, and we don't have the early records of the cemetery, but a newspaper story of 100 years ago quoted Miss Florrie Carr as saying that this was the first interment in the cemetery, Meade Hill. The cemetery opened in the fall of 1856. He died in early February 1857. So I presume nobody died between the fall of 56 until February of 57. However, they were moving in graves from the old cemetery to the new cemetery in order to unite family groups. And you can tell by the different styles of monuments on this lot the passage of time between the deaths of these family members. On the other side of his obelisk is the box tomb of his daughter-in-law, who had died in 1840. And then beyond it is her husband, who was a soldier in the Mexican War. And he lived a long life and has a quite different marker, as does Blanton Hill's wife, who happened to be his cousin. This family moved into Athens from Oglethorpe County, as did so many of our early families. When Blanton Hill bought this lot, he was preparing to move the body of his beloved daughter Clarissa back from Mississippi. She was a bride and had gone to live in Mississippi with her husband and died within a year of her marriage, probably of childbirth. And so they had her disinterred in Aberdeen, Mississippi, and brought her home, and she is buried in a very elaborate monument here. And I'm sure that this deodar cedar that I'm standing under was probably planted at the time of Blanton's death, and it is one of the landmarks of Oconee Hill Cemetery. A cemetery like Oconee Hill was meant to be an arboretum, among other things, but the Civil War came along within 5 years of the opening of Oconee Hill, and all of the material resources that would have gone into making this a beautiful landscape had to go into the war effort. And so a lot of things that were intended to happen never did happen, but a lot of beautiful things did happen over here, and this lot is one of those things. The Blanton Hill family bought a house that had been built by Cicero Holt, who was an early Athens lawyer and was headed for great success when he died very precipitously in the 1830s. His descendant included the wife of Benjamin Harvey Hill. And the house that Cicero Holt built would have been a federal-style house. When Blanton Hill bought it in the late 1840s, he took down the federal porch and put a full antebellum porch across the front of the house. And that's how Athenians knew it for over 50 years. In the 1820s, Athens First Baptist Church was ready to build a new sanctuary, and they needed more space than they had in the heart of downtown. So they moved out from town, an idea that sort of amuses me since they only went to the corner of Pulaski and Hancock. And the house that had been the Blanton Hill house was moved over to the boulevard, and the sanctuary of First Baptist Church was situated on that site. Unfortunately, the house did not make a successful move and was never very secure, so they eventually had to take it down. But he has been an important part of the early history of Athens.